now.
Okay.
Hello. Okay, I think part of the show is that. Hey,
I'm Maddy.
hold on. Let's start all over. Hey guys, welcome to Insomniacs in the Morning. This is our third episode, and for some reason we had more problems right now than we have had any other episode. There should be less of them.
Okay, so I'm Maddy, and you're Ryan. We should say our names.
Okay,
I don't know why. Doesn't matter. The world is ending.
So Marilyn says that she can only see your picture.
Okay. Well, that's weird because I can see myself. Is it like on your end you have to allow my camera?
Oh my god. I have no idea. I've changed no settings since the last time we did this, but it turned off my microphone. So I had to go into like a separate setting within Google Hangouts to turn on the microphone again.
Well, if I try to click on the control room, it doesn't. It's like you're in a moderated video call.
I see you now.
Okay. Well, for sure. Why not? Sure.
Ta-da!
I have a dragon cup today. Isn't this sweet?
That's awesome. Today I have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cup. This is how I talk when I first wake up, but I've been up for an hour and a half. So
okay, can we talk about that? I know we're already late.
That's fine.
I just want to know what happened.
Okay. All right.
So both Ryan and I woke up significantly earlier than this call today.
It didn't help us at all.
It did not help us.
Terrible. Okay.
It actually made things worse, arguably. Like, I actually feel worse physically now.
Same. All right.
So go ahead.
I woke up early because Ben had to go to work early. So he was up at 6. Well, he was up at like 5 this morning, but he came into the bedroom again at 6:30 and he turns on the lights. He goes, "Sorry." And I was like, "Ah." And so
why did he turn on the lights though?
I mean, I think he was looking for something because he didn't put it out in advance, and then didn't really quite realize that he had turned on the lights, which whatever.
Because he was awake, so he was like, yeah, I'll just turn on the lights, and like was assuming that 6:30 wasn't going to be as early for you as it was for him, especially if you woke up at 5. Also, Ben is a normal person, so like waking up at 6:30 like isn't that early for other people. Like I think we should stress that since most of our listeners probably woke up at 6:30 today and they're already at work, and like
some people already tweeted at us saying that. I was like, I'm sorry, guys.
You know what?
They probably also don't go to bed at 3 in the morning like we do.
Don't.
I mean, there's that. But okay, so Ben woke me up, and then I woke up an hour later because that's when I had set the alarm. Which, fun fact, last night I was trying to figure out how to set the alarm on my phone because I do it that rarely. So it took me like 5 minutes. Anyway.
That's pretty sad. Okay. I like how my video just froze. Okay, so Zach woke me up at 7:15 today, which is not that early. But since I was already going to wake up at like 7:45 or 8, it was really annoying because I was like, so now what am I supposed to do for the remaining 30 minutes? I guess I'll just lie in bed, except that then I really didn't want to wake up when it was time to wake up. So I just laid in bed until like 8:30. And then I was like,
I do that all the time. It's ridiculous.
I have to get up.
The thing is that I have a dog, so as soon as that alarm went off, Lyra was up and she was like,
okay, now
throwing toys in my face. Yeah, so I took her outside, which, by the way, it is frigid outside. I do not recommend taking any walks today.
Here. It's snowing. Well,
it didn't snow here. They said it was going to.
Night.
I left work early yesterday to avoid the snow and just rained. So thanks, New England.
Well, it snowed here, so at least that happened. Anyway, there's
a little bit more to this.
Okay.
So then I cleaned the room because I was supposed to do it last night and get all the workout equipment in here. So I'm sitting on my workout bench right now.
Oh my God.
It just took a huge amount of time because I'm sitting there trying to make the coffee and my smoothie. And normally Ben is here in the morning so he can help me with those things. And it's like as soon as he's gone, I'm like dropping shit everywhere. And I went to bed so late. I tried going to bed early, being like, we have this show today. And so I couldn't fall asleep. So I played Majora's Mask forever.
Okay. I do that too, although usually for me it's reading a book. Like I've been reading the not the Name of the Wind, that's the first one, The Wise Man's Fear, by Patrick Rothfuss. And it's like this fantasy novel. And I don't even like it that much, but it's really thrilling. Like I really want to know what happens next. So like the writing is really good, but I hate the main character. I've raged about this on Twitter like 1,000 times. Everybody already knows I hate the main character of this book. I think a lot of people do. He's very unlikable, but he's constantly getting into like crazy situations. So I'm like, I have to find out what happens next. And then it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, I need to find a more relaxing book to read.
That's not, I think the problem is that, no, it's not, there's no such thing. The problem is that you and I get really invested into whatever we're reading, even if it's bad.
No, that's
true. If it's good, it's even better.
Or whatever game we're playing.
Yeah,
I get so invested in stuff, and then I like can't stop looking at it, and I don't know what activity I'm supposed to be doing in order to get myself to fall asleep. I was trying this new thing where I'm like, I'm going to start reading because I read something that said that would relax me. It's super not relaxing me. It's keeping me awake.
That is what Ben says. He's like, maybe you should try reading. And I'm like, that just wakes me up because I want to see what happens in the next chapter. And it's like with a video game, if you're not winning, you're like, fine, I'll come back to this when I'm in the right mindset and I've slept a little. But when you're reading a book, you're like, well, I know how many chapters are left. I can keep going. Like, you are in control when you're reading the book. So.
In theory, but then the book controls you.
Oh,
like the
shit.
Page Master. I don't know.
And then everything comes to life and we're a mist. Whatever.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Just some Page Master shit.
That all contributed as to why we were late. How are you, Maddy? How's your week?
Fucking cares. Everybody's like thinks we're a couple of
I said they've already unsubscribed.
I know. We're so obnoxious. Listen, I'm really sorry. I say this every week. I don't know how often I'm going to say it.
Today was a little bit different with all the technical difficulties that don't normally happen. But whatever.
They do normally happen, though, is the thing.
I have a smoothie today. I actually have 2 things.
I have a coffee today. I made myself a latte today.
Oh, I like lattes.
I like put milk in a pan and steamed it and used a whisk in order to try to make it kind of like a latte. And I have like a little
more domesticated than I've ever seen you be.
I don't know.
That was a little weird. Are you taking after your boyfriend? Is he teaching you how to make lattes?
Actually, like you would think that Zach would make me coffee. He does not. That's like the one thing that he refuses to do because he's a barista for a living. So he will not make me coffee ever. He will do everything else. So I really can't complain. But when it comes to coffee, I'm on my own.
That's crazy.
I know.
He should be making you coffee.
How dare he? And he woke me up at 7:15.
Part of the reason I'm with Ben.
Because he couldn't remember what time he had work, by the way. He didn't have work until 9.
So he woke you up being like, I don't know what time I'm going to work today. You're like, why are you up?
I think he woke up that early so that he could like text his coworkers and be like, hey, could you check the schedule? Because like for him, waking up at 7:15 just to make sure that he doesn't have work early isn't a big deal. Whereas for me, I'm like, my whole day's ruined.
Same.
It's not actually ruined. I'm actually fine.
Well, that's why I started dating Ben, is he makes a great cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And then, the fact that he's awesome. But, the coffee really contributes. Cheers.
Well, yeah.
I had to make it myself this morning. It probably
Zach cooks a lot, so there's that. But I'm on my own with the coffee thing. Okay, so I'm finally opening the Google Doc.
That's fine. I'll talk about my smoothie and my breakfast.
Also, we have reader mail today. I just already want to read the reader mail. I'm so excited that we have reader mail.
So, me too. But I'm going to talk about this for a second because it's a shout out to our friends Meg and Jess. I made some English muffins with this spread that they made themselves and then canned themselves. It's like a raspberry spread.
Whoa!
It's so good.
Badass!
I know, right? Awesome. They are really cool. And actually, they have a website too, which I believe it's Dove and the Compass. Or Compass and the Dove. I'm going to Google it real quick so that you can...
Wait, like people can buy the raspberry spread that they make? Is that what you're saying?
No, they post all these old recipes and also these like handmade gifts and, type of... I don't know how to describe it. They like kind of like holiday gift ideas and like they just do really old school ways of living and how to make things and like old school...
Oh, that's awesome.
Like recipes from like hundreds of years ago. It's thedoveandcompass.com. And, they did a whole bunch of stuff for Christmas and Yule recently. So that was all posted on there. But I think
really
they posted.
Because Meg has a master's in history.
Right. And so I think, I'm looking at it right now. They have some
Making sure
images
it's
from.
accurate.
Yeah. They did some stuff from old Sturbridge Village. I'm looking at it now, but that's kind of what it's like. Meg looks at things historically and tries to recreate them, which is really cool. So
that is really cool.
And
we hang out with some pretty cool nerds.
We do. And my smoothie is all the fruit in the world. It's strawberries, bananas, oranges, mangoes, pineapple, blueberry. And for the record, I don't use like yogurt or milk or sugar or anything. I literally just put like the frozen fruit in there and then, some juice.
And then you go. I put milk in there. I like a smoothie with milk in it.
Yeah, but I don't like milk, so I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then how do you get enough protein? Do you put like protein powder in there?
Sometimes.
Don't you get hungry? Oh, but you don't even like breakfast. I feel like I should be congratulating you just for even doing this.
That's true. I like lunch. That's my favorite meal of the day.
Have you like been eating breakfast on this show for the first time ever? Because you're not a breakfast person. Look at you go. You're literally eating a breakfast. I've like scolded Ryan heavily for not eating breakfast recently, like an asshole. And then I forced him to wake up early for this show, and now he's eating breakfast. I'm eating raspberries. I didn't make them into a smoothie.
Raspberries are great. I like how I came onto this show this morning, and I'm like, I'm going to talk about Meg and Jess's spread. I'm going to plug their website, but I'm so overtired that I couldn't remember what it was called.
You actually almost did. You got it. Don't worry.
I was like,
man.
I know there's Dove and Compass in there somewhere. So I need a 3-hour wake-up time.
You're eating, so should I like deliver a eulogy about David Bowie while you eat?
I was actually going to say, let's jump right into David Bowie.
So if people are listening to this in the far future, this is the week that David Bowie passed away, and
it's been 2 days.
Yeah, and the entire internet has like exploded into just grief and intense rememberings. And
it's not even just the internet; it's like everyone. Like people I've seen in person are in tears.
Yeah, and I think it's because like obviously David Bowie was a person and like had flaws, and I don't know if we want to get into that. I wrote an article about that for work if people want to read that. But like I think like what people resonate with is not even David Bowie the person. And if anything, I've seen a lot of people be like, I don't even want to believe that David Bowie is a person. I don't want to hear about his wife or his actual life. I just want to believe that he's a magical space alien who lives forever and is a goblin king and he'll never die.
He's a talented artist.
But the extent to which people are like, no, he's an angel and he's perfect and I can't accept that he's dead is really interesting to me. And I think there definitely is an overlap with like geeky people and like LGBT people and that sort of world. Because like, we grow up with David Bowie and he's like gender variant and cool and like androgynous and magical. And you kind of want to believe that spirit is going to be alive forever, even if the person is just a person. I don't know. That part of it is actually really sad. I'm not like stating it in an eloquent way, really. I'm just saying it's really sad.
It is really sad. Did you actually have a chance to watch his final 2 music videos he made before he died, knowing that he was going to die? They are intense.
They are really intense. And I didn't even know that he was sick.
No, I don't think anybody really did. It's kind of like it wasn't really like news to the public. Similar to how like nobody knew that Wes Craven also had cancer and then one day he died and everyone was like, what happened? What? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what happened here with him too. And I was watching those music videos too. And the imagery and the type of dancing that they are doing is very similar to death sequences that I've seen in the world of dance, and also in my line of work in haunted graveyard and haunted houses and horror films is a lot of the imagery they used was very much like it goes back and forth between being very obvious of he knew he was going to die and also this subtle imagery as well, like all that shaking they're doing in the films is kind of like this weird in between state of worlds that artists will use within horror films.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
And they're all doing that. I also really liked that there was like sort of like I know it wasn't Labyrinth, but like in the Black Star
Yeah.
video, it looked like it was Labyrinth, and I realized that's not what was
Well,
happening.
it could be sort of a reference, though.
I think that's what it was because I mean, obviously that's not where it was, but I think it was supposed to be sort of a reference back to that because I mean, he's done a lot of things that made him famous, but like for some reason everybody remembers Labyrinth as like David Bowie's like prime time in movies.
No, I know. Yeah, and
And he's done
I
so many other amazing things besides just Labyrinth, which I do love, but like, you know, he's been creating a lot of amazing art for years, you know.
yeah, and like the fact that as a pop star, he was able to also act well and like do so in a situation where it's pretty much impossible to act well because you're like acting across from puppets and stuff and like playing this really goofball role, but he still managed to bring a lot of gravitas to that part and like be scary and also sexy and also like pop star imagery ish. I don't know, it's just like an interesting combination of stuff that he had to do at that part, and I feel like he really nailed it, and I think that's why people remember it because it was such a weird thing to have to pull off, you know.
I agree, and I think Labyrinth has also kind of existed outside of the time that it should have because when we were kids, like Labyrinth really shouldn't have been still a thing, but it was, and it still is.
It's still a thing. It's like The Princess Bride. Like there's some
Yeah,
movies that if it's good, then it just endures and kids will keep watching it,
pretty
no
much.
matter when it came out.
Well, you know Courtney, who we have worked with on projects for Atomic Blue. She's like a full decade younger than us, and she like loves all these movies. And she's like, "Oh yeah, we watch them all the time." And I'm like, "It's like really one of those movies, and it's just a film that has existed for decades that people really get into and like are timeless in a way."
Yeah, no, that's true. And it is kind of weird to see people who are like, oh, I didn't know who David Bowie was, either because they're young or they're just like not familiar with rock music and they somehow didn't watch Labyrinth. But, you know, it's also cool because, like, I'm not going to judge those people. Like, it's okay if you've never heard of somebody, but, you know, now's the time to go and check them out and, like, listen to Space Oddity and, like, you know, that song is pretty accessible. He has some really strange songs too, if you like really weird
Those are the ones
shit.
I really like.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, all right, let me recommend like a more accessible pop song. But he also has a lot of like
if somebody
rock
wanted to
music.
be like, I don't know, he kind of does a whole like Bjork thing where the two of them are like so much about like the sound and like it's not really like music, it's like manipulating sound to do really weird and interesting things. Like that's what he's about, you know?
A lot of the Black Star stuff is more along those lines, which I love because I can get into like the weird, like there's just a bunch of layered sounds and stuff's happening.
It's so good. Like I've really enjoyed it. It was hard to watch those final music videos that he did, but you know, I buckled down and I was like, I'm gonna do this because it was David Bowie, and I was like, he's gonna be the main topic of today, and it's sad, and it's still sort of unbelievable that he passed away, but
it is unbelievable, but it's also really inspiring that he did so many different kinds of things and that he like was able to do a lot of different kinds of music over his career and just I don't know, like I don't want to say he's not still popular, but like the fact that when he announced Black Star, like everybody I knew was suddenly like, oh my god, like David Bowie's gonna have a new album, that's so rad. Like
I know.
And like now we know why he finished the album and like did the album. It's because he wanted it to be sort of a goodbye gift, which is incredibly tragic, but also like really kind to your fans.
And also it's really interesting that he used his death as another piece of art.
Yeah,
and I feel like the story of David Bowie and his career and his music and film all kind of transgress into like one giant story. Like I feel like we finished watching the film that was David Bowie's actual life. You know what I mean?
But it wasn't his actual life. It was the life of this persona that he had created and like very, very carefully and intentionally orchestrated and like did such an incredible job that people are then like, I cannot believe that this died because that doesn't make sense.
That's what I mean. It's like it feels like you've been watching his whole life, which is not what's actually happening, but that's what it feels like. And
and it's like kind of I don't know. I have a lot of respect for it because I can't really imagine how hard that would be, like having to constantly be performing or like well, not constantly. Like, obviously, he like didn't go to parties anymore in his later life, and like sort of became very reclusive, so that he could sort of reserve his persona for times when he had to perform it, because I think it would be really exhausting to have to be constantly playing that role. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I do.
I don't know.
There's a lot of other artists who do that too, where they're just constantly on.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is...
I can't imagine that. Like, just when we've had to do
I know, like,
and we're like, I'm thinking about, like, even when we were at Kineticon and we were like, okay, we have to be in this persona
like,
to hand out the advertisements. It was like so exhausting.
Ryan and I were staff performers at Kineticon for several years, and there would be situations where we would have to be in character for very long stretches. Like, think of it like a Ren fair where you have to be in character all the time. It was sort of like that, but like other characters, other stupider characters, and like just having to constantly...
People who can do that, good on you. I cannot do that.
Couple hours, but then you're like, I want to die, and I hate this, and I don't want to keep smiling, and I don't want to like keep doing all of these things. But I mean, I don't know. It's also fun.
It is. I mean, I think it would be more fun if it's something that we specifically had created from scratch. But
oh yeah.
I think that's us weirdos, and I think a lot of other people actually enjoy being characters for long periods of time. So
I think they think that they would.
I think David Bowie is one of those people.
Like, yeah, that's true. Although I think that David Bowie also probably was very aware of how difficult it is to be famous and scrutinized, and that's probably why he chose not to be like in the public eye as much as an adult.
Right.
It's like, it's not like that's a fun way to be. I mean, I like constantly having to play a character or like have the rest of your life be something that people are aware of. Like, it seems to me like he actually tried really hard to keep his persona and his real life separate, which is like a healthy way to do it.
Right.
You know?
Anyway. I agree. I don't know what else to say on it.
I know.
And I tried thinking about it in advance, being like, what do I want to say about David Bowie so much as like, I'm just sad that he passed away.
I'm sad about it too. And like, it's okay to be sad about it. I mean, even though this is obviously like a complete stranger that like we don't know personally, it's still somebody who made work that I really admire, and I personally would want to try to make something that's even close to as true to what I think as I feel like David Bowie did with his work.
Yeah, and he's an artist that really lived like an artist, and I think that's what resonates with us, and especially as a gay guy that's also an artist. It's like I'm looking at his work and be like, you like really did it, man. Like, you know, it's like, and I think it
super did it, David Bowie. You like, did it.
I think he resonates like with everyone, and especially for people like us, because I mean, he just kind of did, like, it gave us something. It's like the same way I view like cons and stuff, where I'm like, okay, well, it was something to give like a community of a certain type of people, like something that made them feel good about themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I do know what you mean.
Because he was like, he did some crazy shit that people did not like. It was like really awesome. You know what I mean? Like, he just was very unafraid, I guess. So
yeah. Well,
cheers, David Bowie.
Yeah, cheers, man.
So do you want to share a workout tip with us before we talk more?
Oh shit.
No, you're not ready?
No, I mean, I can share a workout tip.
Okay.
What's a good workout? Fuck, I don't know.
My
weights are over here. I'm gonna go get my weights. Hold on. They're like a second
I'll
away.
I'll talk for a second while you get your weights, okay?
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna tell everybody about crunches, because I do a lot of crunches. I used to do like up 600 or 700 crunches.
I'm back. I don't know what you said.
I'm talking about crunches. I'm telling our audience about crunches.
Oh, great. They should know more about crunches. Don't hurt your neck when you're doing crunches.
Do not do that. That sucks. But I was saying I used to do up to like 700 crunches a day of different sets and repetitions.
That's so many crunches. What the fuck,
I don't do that
Ryan?
anymore. I don't. It's more like
your
300.
Tip, don't do 700 crunches a day? Because
No,
that's what it should be, because that's too much.
I was going to say, when you're doing crunches, you want to make sure it's not just like your average sit-up. You can do those, but like, you know, my mother, who owns a dance studio, she kind of taught me the proper way to work on your abs when I was really young, and you have to make sure you're doing sort of like sideways crunches, so you're going like diagonally. And we do a thing where we lie on her back and put her legs straight up in the air and then pull forward, do those. I don't know what any of this shit is called, by the way, so I'm sorry.
I know what you're talking about, and there's also the one where, this is what I thought you were going to say, where you're lying on your back and you put your legs straight up and you like try to lift your butt up.
I've done that one too.
It's so hard to do, but it's like kind of fun. And there's a lot of different ones. There's like doing a bicycle move with your legs while you're lying on your back.
Yeah, I actually really like that one.
I like that one too. I like all the different alternate kinds of crunches because it feels like you're doing a different workout, even though you're still working out your abs, but you're working at a different part of your abs. So you're kind of like giving whatever tiny ab muscles you were working at a second ago a rest.
Right.
So anyway, here's a workout that I don't think I've ever done on this show before.
Woo!
I'm gonna do some weight lifting that I don't know how to describe because, as usual, Ryan and I don't know what anything's called. But basically, you lift the weights directly in front of you, and then you put them to the side, and then you put them over your head, and hopefully people will be able to see me, but I don't know. We'll see. So, like, that's the first one. That's the second one.
Oh, I see.
And then you do this one.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what Maddy is doing is that you are putting it out to your side first, right? I'm
lifting it up in front of me first, actually.
I can't do this while sitting down. I have to stand up.
Yeah, I am standing up right now.
Oh, that's right. You're much shorter than I am.
Well, I'm also at my
stand up. You're not going to see me anymore.
I know. Don't do it. You don't have to do this one. I just like this one.
I was going to try it, though, because I kind of...
Oh, give it a shot. All right. I'll stop. I'll tell a story. Okay.
You don't need to tell a story. I'm right here.
Okay,
so
fine.
We can keep on... We can... We just have a lot of stuff to talk about. We started like 15 minutes late, so I'm trying to keep the wave moving here.
Okay. Now I'm hot. Yeah, taking off my hoodie to work out. Woo!
So, did you see the trailer for Daredevil second season?
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
I was doing jumping jacks.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, that's actually like a jumping jack tip if you guys want while Ryan's doing this workout. If you are doing jumping jacks in a room with a really low ceiling, which I have to do a lot because my apartment isn't actually that tall and there's a lot of ceiling fans around and you don't want your hands to bump into the ceiling fan, just don't put them all the way over your head. Put them up here. So like when you jump, just only lift your hands as far as your shoulders. And also, it's kind of a workout anyway because you're like sticking your elbows out. So it feels really weird. Anyway, I got it from a workout video, so if it's bad for you, then that workout video is bad, I guess. I don't know. Anyway.
Thanks, Simmons.
That's the kind of jumping jack that I do all the time here because one time I did a jumping jack underneath a moving ceiling fan and hurt my finger really bad. So don't do that.
I've done that kind of stuff too, but not from jumping jacks, just from like falling down, you know.
Yeah. Well, Ryan falls down a lot, so.
I damage my body not very often, so like when I do fall, I know how to catch myself at least.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Daredevil season 2. We are all over the place today.
I know.
And I'm just embracing it at this point. So I saw the trailer for season 2 of Daredevil. And I guess it has the Punisher, which I had read about and totally forgot was happening.
Yeah. What is going on with Daredevil? I'm finally catching up on it. I never actually finished the first season.
Okay, neither did I. And it's really good.
It is really good. I finally watched some more of it last night.
Well, good.
The problem partly with it is that Zach and I started watching it together. And first of all, Zach doesn't like TV as much as I do. So he like never wants to finish watching things. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that Zach doesn't really like watching anything that's like really sad or violent or scary or like really thrilling at all.
Anything that has emotions, period.
Well, no, he likes watching comedies, but like that's it.
Oh, good.
And so we were watching another episode and it was like episode 3. I'm not far at all because we watched 2 episodes and then didn't watch it for like a year. And we finally watched episode 3 last night, which starts with like a man smashing another man's face with a bowling ball. That's not a spoiler. That's just something that happened at the very beginning of episode 3. The very beginning.
You know
and
what,
Zach just like turns to me and he's like, I don't know about this. And I was like, I know. I'm really sorry. Like, I don't know.
You're like, Zach.
I feel bad though because I don't know if he's gonna want to continue watching it, but it might become a show that I just watch by myself because I'm a dark person.
So you're a little badass. It's fine.
Yeah, like that was part of why I was like, I'm gonna watch Jessica Jones by myself. I don't think Zach's gonna make it through this one.
He would not. And Jessica Jones is great.
It is great, but it's not a Zach show.
No, it is not. But viewers, if you have not watched Jessica Jones, you need to get on that because that's like
Did
the
you
best
finally
thing.
finish it, by the way, or are you still like?
No, we're like right at the end. So,
okay.
But it's probably the best thing that Marvel has put out so far. I know everybody loves all the Avengers films, and I do too. But Jessica Jones like really nails the Marvel universe a lot better than the Avengers films do. So
it's also like just a more interesting and nuanced watch than the Avengers movies. The Avengers movies are like, what if a bunch of guys had some fun and then
I know, and like fire around explosions for 3 hours with no real cohesive plot.
But that's okay. Like, there's jokes in it. Like, the Avengers movies are fun. But
I was gonna say
Jessica
they're fun
Jones,
movies, and I'm okay with that.
If you were looking for a gritty take on superheroes, I think Jessica Jones is a good example of that.
Maddie's gonna cosplay Jessica Jones.
I do not look anything like Kristen Ritter, but I'll just put on a black wig. Nobody will know the difference. It'll be like Kristen Ritter standing right.
It will be goth Maddie. Don't worry about it.
She has such a distinctive look that I feel like cosplaying her would be like it's just you with the black wig and the leather jacket on. Like that's like not. I don't know. It was like when I tried to do a cosplay from Supernatural where I was like, okay, let me just like do the exact specific outfit that this character wears. And like, even then I'm like, no one knows who the fuck I am.
That's the problem when you dress up like somebody from Supernatural though. It's like, unless you're...
Or like any show where it's just like the character is wearing
normal clothes.
Yeah, like what are you supposed to do?
At least Jessica Jones only owns like one pair of pants and a shirt and a jacket and that's it.
It does seem that way. And maybe you could like bring a bottle of whiskey around with you.
Yeah, it works.
And jump around a lot.
Yeah, just jump off of shit. That's not going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Do it as if Ryan was in high school where you just climb shit and jump off of it instead of going to class.
Okay. Let's do our reader mail. I'm worried about how little time we have left.
Okay.
Anyway, my point is I'm going to finish all of Daredevil before the second season comes out. That's what I have to say about Daredevil Season 2. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to try.
Well, before we hop into reader mail, I just want to talk about this other thing. We don't need to get into all of
you should tell me about this because you're like so into this.
I am. And it can lead into our nostalgia hour too. But first of all, we were going to talk about a little bit of Arrow at some point today. And I don't know if we're going to now because I was reading this thing about how Felicity Smoak may have been shot and handicapped to a wheelchair, and she's also sort of the Oracle type on the show. So we're like, is she becoming Oracle? But now they're like, no, we're taking it all back. So I don't know what's happening with that.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's weird. That's what I have to say about that. My hot take is that that's weird.
Everything that's coming out with these CW shows are very weird. Like the Legends of Tomorrow thing is also very weird too.
Yeah, but they're like putting some lesbians on that show, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. All right, so what I did want to talk about before we jump into reader mail this week is the Netflix sequel to Full House. And I want to first clarify that I'm not somebody that was like a Full House fan necessarily. Like my younger sister watched it a lot, so it would be on in the background. And it was enjoyable, but it was never a show that like I had to watch. That was Boy Meets World. That was the show that I really liked. So I'm not going to lie about that. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
That show was great.
But so Full House is going to have a Netflix sequel series called Fuller House, where I guess the girls come back with their kids and Kimberly comes back with her kid or kids. I don't really understand how many children there are or why they're all living in the same house again.
They can't afford anything else. I mean, it's more realistic than ever.
Pretty cheap, right? Or no, it's San Francisco.
It's San Francisco, so it's like the most expensive. It's now completely unrealistic that they still live there, first of all.
Pretty much. I mean, that's why there's 10 people living there. They all pay rent.
They have to.
Even the children.
The children go to work at a factory every day. It's really dark. They make iPhones. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't know why
I would watch this show. This is
that I
like
said that. That was
this is like
horrific.
dark Full House. I like it when you take everything that's like really fun.
Yeah,
and
it's a
and you're like, let's make it
reboot.
dark and goth and gritty.
Anyway, that's not what Fuller House is.
No, Fuller House, I think, is just sort of like the same show, but like with the next generation of kids. And the thing that I'm most impressed about this is like how everyone sort of looks ageless on this show. And
they got really
last
lucky.
on like 20 years ago. And I mean, obviously the little girls all grew up. The Olsen twins are returning currently.
They're not returning.
I'm not going to put it. Let's not believe that yet, because when it gets going,
they might come back, but they're so famous that they might be like, we don't need to go back and do this. But everybody else on the show is sort of like mid-level famous, except for like John Stamos, I guess.
Who looks like he's still like 30. I don't understand him. He looks 30 on Grandfather too, and I don't think he's had like a lot of
So are you just gonna watch this show because you have a crush
John
on everybody
Stamos.
on it? Like, I feel like that's this topic, is you being like, so I just want to let everybody know that John Stamos is still really hot.
No, but they all look really good, and I was
They
just
all
like,
look really good.
I'm just
Although,
really impressed with like how much how well they have aged. And I do like this idea that they're revisiting a show from 20 years ago, because that seems to be a thing we're doing right now. And I don't mean like,
is so weird. You're so much more into this than I am, and I just find it bizarre.
well,
you like love it. You're like, look at these pictures of them. They're in the house, and I'm like, this is like spooky to me.
Okay,
Like, it like creeps me out.
I don't know. I like this current trend we're in right now. That's not like remakes of shit. Like, I'm not talking Transformers and stuff.
Right.
I'm talking about shows that have existed, and instead of trying to recreate the show, they've gone back and they're like, 20 years later, this is where those characters are now, because now it's being written by the people that watched the show 20 years ago.
Right, like Star Wars, which we apparently can't go a single episode without talking about.
Clearly. And there's more Rey figurines coming out, by the way, with the lightsaber.
Thank God, there's more Rey figurines. But anyway, so like, yeah, it's similar to Star Wars. It's basically Full House is pulling a Star Wars.
And there's a lot of shows doing that. I mean, even Legend of Korra was sort of that way, when after Avatar they went back and they went into the future. And I like that shit. And I always liked that shit because in the 90s I was super into Batman Beyond, and I loved what happened to those characters.
Awesome. No, you're right. That's true. With animated shows, you don't have to worry about the actors getting older.
Right. And I think part of this is that I read lots of comic books, so I like future stories as well. But anyway, let's
in this case,
talk about
it's like
this
a
for too
real
long.
future story. Yeah, no, you're right. So anyway,
we're like, Batman Beyond. That is not today's throwback, and if we don't get to that today, I'll be so angry.
Okay, well, we can talk about Batman Beyond on the next show. That would be fun.
All right, so let's do some reader mail to make sure that we get that in. So
Skye
first of all,
sent us a recipe, right? My friend Skye.
Well, I don't have that open yet. We'll do that next.
Okay.
Because we have the food section of our show too.
It's true, we do.
So first of all, we have an email from, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but let's just say his name.
Just two first names.
I just realized we shouldn't say that.
I want to be anonymous anyway. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say James. We have an email from James where he said that he really likes the show and it's very funny and interesting. So thanks. I really like that.
Yay! We have a second listener in addition to Mary Ellen. I'm just kidding. We have like 6 listeners.
And
Hi, everybody.
He asked a couple questions. He asked, 1, what is your favorite book? And 2, what is your favorite food other than donuts? Since it is well known that Maddie is obsessed with donuts. But I'm just gonna say we don't need to answer the second question about food because we talk about food every single episode. So I think if you want to know what our favorite foods are, just keep on listening.
Yeah,
and you'll see.
I don't know if I physically can pick a favorite food. That's like gonna.
I mean, I can. It's pizza, but that's terrible for you. So
that's fine. Who cares? Don't worry about that.
Pizza's fucking great.
The purpose of a favorite food is to be a luxury, not something that you eat for every single meal.
Right. Okay, so favorite books.
Favorite book is tricky. I actually talked about a book at the beginning of the show, but it's definitely not my favorite book. For a long time, my favorite book was Snow in August, although I haven't read it in so long that I don't know if it would still be my favorite book. It's a book about like a boy growing up like a Christian boy, and he meets a rabbi and like learns about Judaism and like learns about diversity and stuff. But then there's also like this random magical realism thing that happens in the second half of the book that's completely unrelated to the first half. And a lot of people read it and they're like, wait, what the fuck is the second half of this book? But I loved it. However, I haven't read it for a really long time, so I have no clue if it holds up at all. But so instead of that, I'm going to say something that I at least reread sort of recently, which is Tamora Pierce's Alanna series, which is a book series about a girl who dresses as a boy so that she can learn how to be a knight.
This sounds like us up your alley.
Yeah, and I read it when I was a kid, and I reread it when I was an adult, and it does hold up for sure. It's really, really good. Tamora Pierce is a great writer, and she does a lot of really good young adult fiction that like has sort of gender variant stuff happening in it, and does some interesting things with like magic. Like there's magic in the book. It's a fantasy book. It's about like medieval knights, but it's also about like women's rights and stuff, and not in a way that's shitty. So it's a really good, it's a good book to give to like an elementary school kid, but it's all, which is when I read it, although I read it in like 5th grade, because when the main character gets a little older, she starts like dating boys and hooking up with them and stuff. So you might want to give it to like a middle schooler. But it's a good young adult book, and it has like a positive view of relationships and stuff. So yeah, it's really good. Anyway, what's your favorite book?
Well, I was gonna say, I've not been reading in a long time.
Are you just gonna say X-Men? Are you gonna say?
No, I'm not gonna say X-Men. I do read comic books, but my biggest problem is I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read, and that's all on me, because it's the same thing where I'm like, I don't have time to play video games. Well, Ryan, stop being crazy, and you'll get stuff done. I am reading right now the autobiography of Melissa Joan Hart's life.
Oh wow, that's awesome! Is it good?
What I've read, yes, because she's very funny, and I love Melissa Joan Hart. But I guess if I had to pick a favorite book series, I still have to go with His Dark Materials. I mean,
those are awesome.
My dog's name is Lyra. Like, I feel like once when you name your pet after a character from a book, then you obviously like that book. So,
wow, I'm shocked to learn that you like it.
Surprise! And that's a great series. It's
that's really good. If people haven't checked those out, they're really cool. And they're
very dark.
They are dark, but there's still books that I read when I was in middle school also, but they're like good for adults too. So sort of a similar recommendation where it's something that you could get for a younger kid, but also potentially for an adult.
Right. I'm also trying to I'm trying to figure out how to even describe it. It's crazy. It's like fantasy, but it's political, and like everybody has
it is political. It's also like sort of a religious allegory where there's a lot of like sort of criticisms of like institutional Christian values and like sort of overturning that. There's a lot happening in those books.
It's really good, and everybody has these animal familiars that like take shapes of all sorts of animals until they hit a certain age, and those reflect the type of people they are.
Has an animal that represents like their conscience, basically.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I've read those books at least like once and a half, because I didn't finish it all the way through the second time. They're very long books, so they're good though.
Yeah, I read them when I was younger, but it took me forever to finish them as a kid, because as a kid I was like, I don't really understand what's happening. Right. So they might actually be better for adults to read, even though technically they're young adult fiction, but they're for like a kid who's really patient.
We have an email all of a sudden from Marielle that says, I'm not doing any more high-level comedy because Ryan reads it wrong. And also, she writes, I'm getting my hair cut today. How should I get it done? Or should I finally grow it out? And she goes, also, I'm trapped in a management consulting firm. How do I escape? Love you.
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, you also wrote Dash Anonymous, so thanks. Very nice.
Mary Ellen always signs all of her letters anonymous. Okay, so how to escape a management consulting firm? I don't know. That's actually a hard question, and it's one that Ryan and I have spent our lifetimes trying to figure out how to answer.
Well, I know what you do.
How do you
Mary Ellen, you get a camera, you break into a broken down mental institution and search around in there for a news story that will get you famous, but then it turns out there's ghosts chasing you, and then you're an outlast. The end.
Oh, okay.
Also, in reply to your hair, keep it short because you look cute with short hair.
She does look really cute.
I'm an advocate of like the sort of lawn short look with me. Like I have the buzz down the sides and the lawn on top, but I don't know if that would look. I was gonna
Mary
say
Ellen usually does like a short haircut with like side swept bangs, which I feel like looks really good. I'm
it
doing
does.
something now where I have
I
like
don't think anybody
long in
really looks
front and then
good.
it's short and back.
I think the
Which I think
longer your
looks
hair
good.
goes, the less good it looks, in my opinion. And I may be an asshole for saying that, but like, I just
It's
don't like
true. It's
long
actually
hair.
a lot harder to style hair the longer.
Yeah, and it's like you can't do too much with it when it's longer.
I
So,
completely agree. So, Mary Ellen, we're both telling you to get your hair cut, you damn hippie.
all right, we have Skye's taco recipes, and then we're doing the throwback section.
Okay, cool.
I'm moving
So
us
are we
along
skipping
because
Yeah, no, good. Are we doing food first? Should we talk about food before we share Skye's recipe?
yeah, I'll keep mine quick. So tonight Ben's going to be cooking this, so I can't even really share the recipe behind it, but we make vegetarian meatball grinders because we can get the vegetarian versions of meatballs now pretty much from any grocery store. And, you just get some tomato sauce and some mozzarella. And I'm sure there's a shitload of spices Ben puts in there, but I have no idea what those are because I don't cook. But they're really good. And if you want something that's kind of like meaty, that's not actual meat, get that. It's good. They use like fennel. I think that's what gives it the meat taste without it actually being meat. But yeah, I'm always providing vegetarian recipes on this
I
show.
know, and I'm always providing like ridiculous meat
I
recipes.
think it's great though.
I'm sorry. This is gonna horrify you as a vegetarian, Ryan. But we made ribs this week, pork ribs, and it's so easy to make pork ribs. So like, all you have to do is put some salt and pepper on either side of them, put them into a roasting pan that has a cover with some olive oil on the bottom and some slices of garlic and some sliced onions on the bottom of the pan. And then you just lay the ribs down in the pan. I think you preheat the oven for 350 or something like that. I can look up the recipe if anybody actually really wants to know. Tweet at me. And then you cook them for 2.5 hours, which is a really fucking long time, but you have to cook ribs for a long time. And they're going to smell really good for the last hour. And you're going to be like, God damn it, are those ribs ready? And they're not ready. And you just have to wait. And then you take them out and you cover them with barbecue sauce. And then you put them back in for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes, and then you take them out and they're ready to eat. And like, it's so easy. Like what I just described is like no ingredients. Like it's so simple and it's bonkers how good they taste. I don't know what the vegetarian equivalent of that would be.
They make ribs that are like fake ribs.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. Figure it out, vegetarians.
I'm not grossed out by the idea of people eating meat. It's just me. I don't like the way I feel after I eat meat, so.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's not actually that good for you. But I did eat it with broccoli and potatoes.
Oh, you are making sure to keep it nice and healthy.
I am. I'm eating a balanced diet. I didn't just eat like 600 ribs and go, I feel great. That's not. I mean, I would clearly feel physically amazing after eating 600 ribs. No. I gotta eat my veggies. Otherwise, I do feel like shit. I recommend vegetables to our listeners because
I recommend vegetables too. And pizza.
It's annoying to figure out ways to eat vegetables to make them taste good, but once you figure it out, they're pretty good. So yeah, figure it out.
I recommend pizza forever. All right,
yeah,
I'm gonna read Skye's taco thing because if we don't talk about Ghost Rider tonight, I'll be so angry.
Okay.
So
tonight, Ryan, it's
tonight, this morning. It's already too late in the day. All right, so Skye's taco talk. First of all, she said, avoid the hard shells.
Yep, agree.
She said, I don't know who started selling the hard shell tacos, but they're the taco equivalent to the first Sith. I agree with you. I'm a soft taco fan.
Yeah, we're 100% soft tacos here on Insomniacs.
Hard tacos, I feel like those type of shells need to be saved for chips and salsa.
Yep.
And then so she said, all right, enough about that. She's going to talk about taco tips. So 1, ditch the taco seasoning packets and get al pato, I don't know how to pronounce sauce or canned chipotle peppers if you like that taste better. El Pato sauce is wonderfully spiced tomato sauce canned right in Los Angeles, close to Grand Central Station. It's fantastic for ground beef or pork. El Pato sauce may not be at your local market, but it should be in all caps. And it's easy to spot because it has a picture of a duck on the package.
Okay.
Cute. And then she said 2, go with the cabbage instead of iceberg lettuce. I agree with you. Iceberg lettuce has 0 value.
It does. It does have 0 value. It's just water.
It really is. She says, I feel like this is a good tip for almost anything because shredded cabbage has more vitamins and better crunch than iceberg lettuce, but in tacos, it makes a world of a difference. I believe you. I absolutely believe you.
I've never had cabbage in a taco, but it sounds really good.
I actually don't use iceberg lettuce in tacos. I use romaine lettuce. So that tastes good too. She says 3, ditch the Mexican mixed cheese and get queso fresco, or failing that, get a mild white cheese that melts easily. If you can get queso fresco or queso asadero, make a quesadilla with it. It's amazing.
Wow. This is a complicated email, but it sounds like it has a lot of really interesting information.
I'm going to forward it to you because I'm going to try these things afterwards. And
Me too.
And then also she says 4, I can't read right now. Try making tacos that are just super simple but use fresh ingredients. Most street tacos in LA are just meat, onion, cilantro wrapped in 2 homemade corn tortillas. So LA guys, they know where it's at.
They do.
She forwarded us a article we can read later as well because I didn't read it. Only because I didn't have enough time. But I'm going to forward it to you and you can look at it. And there's actually some great examples in here. It's on the Eat2 blog. That's like literally Eat2 blog. And it's under LA Eats Street Taco Tour. So
that sounds awesome. And I will absolutely read it and make those tacos. And
me too. I like tacos. I made some earlier this week already.
Yay. Okay. Talk to me about Ghost Rider, Ryan.
Okay. So we have first of all, thanks guys for sending your reader mail. Please don't stop. Send us more. Skye, we're going to try those tacos. James, I hope.
Thanks for your question, James. That was awesome.
Yeah, you'll hear more about who we like on the show. Okay, so throwback time, and will be the last thing we're going to talk about today. This was actually suggested by Maddy.
I made Ryan watch the Gooey Gus episode of Ghost Rider, and I did not watch it because I was too scared to watch it.
Okay, first of all, she messaged me and she goes, I think we should talk about the Gooey Gus episode. And I was like, that's so weird. I was just thinking about that yesterday out of the blue because I was thinking about Ghost Rider for some reason.
I'm always thinking about Ghost Rider, like constantly. When I think about shows that I thought were amazing as a kid, Ghost Rider is like number 1.
It's still up there. I mean, considering what I watched yesterday.
Okay, so anyway, the show ended with this episode about Gooey Gus, which is like a purple monster that's sort of made out of purple bubblegum. Kind of, but he's a monster and he also kills people by spitting purple bubblegum at them and like encasing them in gum.
Yeah, it encases them in gum that hardens and also burns their skin off.
Yep. So he's a fucking terrifying monster. And this was how they ended their children's show, which had some scary elements. Like, it's worth noting that Ghost Rider was like kind of a freaky show. Like, it's about a ghost that talks to kids and helps them solve mysteries that are sometimes not like kind of dangerous for kids to be solving. Like, in some cases, it sort of depended on the mystery. Like, sometimes a culprit would just be a kid like them, and sometimes it'd be an adult. Mm-hmm. So like the show was already kind of scary, but that's okay for kids because, like, you know, kids like to be a little scared. But I would say that this episode went way too fucking far because everybody who watched Ghost Rider remembers this was the final episode and was terrified by it.
See, the funny thing is that I remember when I was a kid, I had stopped watching Ghost Rider, but I couldn't remember why. I said to Maddy, I was like, there was something really scary on there, and I couldn't remember what it was. And Maddy like sends me a picture, and she's like, "Was it this?" I was like, "Holy fuck!" I like repressed that shit.
Yeah, because it's terrifying.
You're gonna have to Google it.
You rewatched it. You rewatched the entire episode and like gave me blow by blow in chat, like explaining.
I was freaking out the whole time. So first of all, I'm gonna clarify that a Ghost Rider episode is actually 4 episodes. And they're like over half an hour long sometimes. So I'm sitting there talking to Maddy. I'm like, this has been going on for 3 hours. I'm watching this terrifying thing murder the children. Okay, so the premise of the actual episode, though, is that for some reason, one of the characters has like the Gooey Gus doll. It's not explained. And then I guess the whole deal is that if Gooey Gus gets too hot, watch out. And then, okay, but
watch out, he's gonna kill you.
And then immediately, pretty much, and then immediately it becomes Inception because they're like, we're actually writing stories about the Gooey Gus story contest. So who can write the scariest Gooey Gus story will win. So they all work together, like all 10 cast members, and they keep on presenting this story in which the doll is coming to life and trying to murder them. So it's a group of friends writing together about how they all are killed by this doll.
Which admittedly is the kind of thing that you and I would have done as kids.
Oh, it takes a dark turn too, because like it starts kidnapping the characters and encasing them in the bubble gum, and when it hits them, they scream, "Oh, it's burning my skin off!" And it had started off as like jump scares where like one of the other characters was just trying to scare the person with the doll, but then the doll overheated because one of the parents put the doll into a pot because they thought it was food.
Which would not happen.
I was gonna say it was like the
parents. Am I right?
Like, I was like, what the hell? So then he goes on a killing spree.
The doll, yeah.
Yeah, and then
it's a doll.
Right, and I guess the hotter he gets, the more powerful he gets. So he turns into this giant, like 10-foot monster. Eventually, that's like way taller than them.
This is the monster that haunted my nightmares. Was the monster that was way taller than them?
I didn't even remember getting tall, and I was like, "It's really tiny, Maddy." I was like, "Oh, never mind."
I remember that it got tall, and I remember having nightmares where, like, I was walking down the street, and then all of a sudden somebody would turn around and would be Gooey Gus, like,
oh my god,
and it was terrifying. Like, I keep remembering that dream, which I don't even think that happens in the episode, but like, I like vividly have that memory.
He just blatantly chases them. Yeah. It senses that it's a story they're writing. They keep on breaking like various walls. So like, they're writing the story, and then something will happen, and then that character in the story will turn to the camera of the TV show and be like, "I'm writing this story right now, so I can do whatever I want." And I'm like, what the fuck?
I think the reason why they did that was to attempt to make it less scary by being like, oh, it's like a story within a story, so this isn't real, but like it did not help at all.
Okay, so there's two things I need to point on here with this, is that at some point in the room that they're writing the story, they noticed that the Gooey Gus doll moved to the shelf, and they were like, the doll can't move on its own. This is just a story that we're writing. And then they like never address it again for the rest of the episode. I was like, are they going to follow that up?
Nope. Turns out the doll can move on its own in real life, but don't worry about it.
So anyway, I guess, I can't remember if it was Jamal or somebody else. I think it was Jamal that comes running in.
I thought it was Jamal and Tina who like.
Yeah, it is. And so Tina was smart and she hid from the thing, and like literally everyone else.
Of that? Like Tina was like, what if we hide from the monster?
Yeah. And hold on, I have a fun thing about Tina too, but I'll get to that in a second. And Jamal comes in because he was like the super scientist of all of them. So he figured out a formula, which was just like dropping a shitload of vegetable oil on him, I guess.
Yeah, because vegetables destroy bubblegum. Everyone knows that.
Okay. So he comes in and everybody's encased. Everybody's like dead and encased in these like gum cocoons. And like
so it's like the end of Alien. Like it's like the most terrifying thing you've ever seen. Like children in the walls.
Pretty much. So Jamal gives Tina the concoction to kill him, and he like baits him out, and then she drops it on him, and then they kill him and he wins, and they're like, yay, that was great. And then it cuts away and they're like, we finished the story, great. And then it cuts to the rooftop, and like everybody's like celebrating the end of middle school, and I can't tell if it's middle school or high school because they all don't look like they're middle school, and they're saying middle school, and some people are saying prom, and I'm like, what the hell is happening?
I think it was supposed to be middle school. It's just that the actors got too old by the end of the show. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like when the show started, they were all really young.
Right.
I think it was actually supposed to take place in middle school. I kind of vaguely remember that. I don't know. Anyway,
So they're on the rooftop.
I think we had a shitty prom at the end of middle school. I feel like we probably
had a school dance or something like that.
Yeah. So that's probably what it was.
But they're on the rooftop, and they are all like partying and celebrating and talking about the show in general. And
Ryan
and they're like giving each other necklaces, like the original cast members, be like, to remember where we came from with Ghost Rider. And then they open a thing, and fucking Gooey Gus is in there, and he screams something. He was like, ready for slime. I'm angry, mad. And then he shoots slime and kills everyone again. And then it shoots to the computer screen and says, gotcha. And everyone turns and goes, gotcha. And I'm like, it wasn't enough that they already killed everyone once in this episode. They just wanted to do it one more time real quick. But it was also weird because I couldn't tell what was happening because there was this whole subplot with what's her name, the musician.
Casey,
I can't remember. There are so many characters on that show. It was like jamming with this other guy and like had this date with him at the prom.
I can't believe that there was like more than one plot in addition to a purple monster.
But the thing is that it was
them.
so weird because like I think it was happening both in the show and in the story at the same time. So I had no idea which ones were like the Gooey Gus story and which ones were like her actually dating him because like they were simultaneous events happening at the same time with the same events happening. Whereas the rest of it was shit they were making up.
That's so confusing. And I feel like even when I was a kid, I remember being confused. And I think it was like intentionally done like, oh, is this real? Is it not real? But it was actually like the most confusing possible way to tell the story ever. And it was also terrifying. So it's like, okay, so you want the audience to be alienated and confused by your storytelling technique. And you also want them to be alienated and confused by the fucking monster that's killing kids.
Chasing them. Although there's a...
Okay, you did it. You fucking did it. You made the scariest episode of television ever. And also it's 2 hours long because it was actually 4 episodes.
It was actually a great moment in there where the girls were trapped on the roof and they were like, how are they going to get out of there? Because the door wasn't opening. And the girls took over and they're like, it's time for the girls to write this. And so it literally cuts back and their line goes, we're strong women. We can open this door. And they're like, rip it off its hinges and run in. And I was like, yes.
That's amazing, but also I'm pretty sure that 4 12-year-old girls could not rip a door off. It was like, 2. I want to believe that wish fulfillment fantasy is real, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
It was so funny. I loved it.
It sounds great. Maybe
it was just like, it's still pretty horrifying. And
I was so scared of it as a kid that even as an adult, I'm like, I don't know if I want to rewatch this because I was like scared that I would have a nightmare about fucking Gooey Gus again. How sad is that? I'm almost 30 years old.
Looks like
I don't want to have a nightmare about Gooey Gus.
He looks like Nemesis, but with Gooey Gus for a head. That's what he looks
terrifying.
Like. I guarantee you.
On that note, Ryan, I have to go.
All right. Okay. Everyone who tuned in for our atrocity of an opening today, thank you for still watching us all the way through that.
Woo!
And if you're listening to the podcast, you probably won't hear any of that. Thank God. But
well, you might hear a little bit.
You can subscribe. You can subscribe to us here. And also our home-based channel, which is Atomic Blue Productions.
Yeah, if you just want the highlight reel, you can subscribe to Atomic Blue, where Ryan pulls out like little 10-minute chunks of the show where we actually discuss a topic, and he like actually tries and does that. Or you can listen to the audio-only version where I don't try, and I just pull the audio from this channel and put it up on iTunes.
Yep, it's also available for MP3 on our website. And you can follow us on Twitter at Atomic Blue Prod, and send us your reader mail at insomniacsinthemorning@gmail.com.
Woo!
And you'll see that down in the link below. And you can follow us on Twitter if you want to.
Yeah, you can, but I mean, like, why bother?
We did good today.
We did such a good job. Thanks for watching Ghost Rider, Ryan. You took one for the team. I'm really glad you watched that episode.
I still can't believe like we got up early and managed to be 15 minutes late.
Okay, I know. All right, so I have to go. Okay, bye.
Goodbye, everyone.